Welcome to Nature at your doorstep. I'm Colleen Hook and we're at Quinta Mazatlan, McAllen's mansion with a mission. And this show is designed to help you to create a wildscape for your backyard. And September and October is a perfect time of year to invite hummingbirds into your yard. And joining me today is John Brush, avid birder and naturalist at Quinta Mazatlan. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Colleen.
You want to tell us about the hummingbird sensation migration going on right now?
Oh, absolutely. So this time of year is the peak migration in the fall for our hummingbirds. So these birds have finished their breeding season to our north and the east, and they've raised their young, and now they're leaving to their wintering grounds before the really cold starts to set in our northern areas.
So they're leading the winter Texans down here.
Exactly, and everyone else too.
And everyone else. So there's roughly 323 different hummingbird species in the world. How many are seen in North America, and how many will I see in my backyard?
Okay, so in North America we have about 18 to 20 regular species, along with the occasional rarities that come up from Mexico. In the Rio Grande Valley we have 4 regulars. We have the buff-bellied hummingbird, which is our permanent resident species. So this is the hummingbird that you'll see pretty much year-round in the Rio Grande Valley. This time of year, one of the real common species is the ruby-throated hummingbird, which is a migrant species coming up from the northeast. We also have the black-chinned, which is a breeder as well as a migrant, and then the rufous hummingbird, which comes all the way down from Alaska, down into Central America and Mexico.
Wow. So hummingbirds are incredible acrobats, and they fly backwards, they hover like a helicopter. What are some of your favorite fun facts about hummingbirds?
There's a lot to choose from, but one of the really cool ones is how much they have to eat. So these little birds have to eat at least half their body weight per day. So the equivalent would be roughly 50 to 60 full course meals for a human being. So you can imagine when they're moving, they're eating pretty much. They also have a really fast wing beats. When they're just hovering, it's about 50 beats per second. And then when they
50 beats per second.
That's why most of the photos, there's just a blur, right?
Yeah.
And then when they're actually flying forward, it can get up to 200 beats per second.
Wow. So it's so easy to attract hummingbirds to your yard, and we're going to share with you the 5 tips that we used at Quinta Mazatlan. And the first tip in terms of designing a hummingbird garden or any kind of garden is to design in layers. And think of your yard like a lasagna, and you're going to layer your garden lasagna. And you start with the top canopy, the forest canopy. You don't have to have a forest. You can plant a wild olive or any kind of medium-sized tree. Your next layer is your shrubs and your brush, and then your bottom layer are your flowers and your ground level coverage. So again, design in layers, because you're not just creating a garden to feed them, you're providing space and habitat. You want to provide a home for them where they can raise their young, where they can rest, and where they can fly if there's a predator in the area. So think of the whole package. So step number 1 is to design in layers. Step number 2 is to use flowers that provide nectar. John, you want to share with what we used in our garden?
One of our most popular plants, well, first of all, let me go back. Hummingbirds tend to like flowers that are tubular and that are red. So one of our most popular plants for hummingbirds in the Rio Grande Valley is called the Turk's Cap. And it's a small red flower, brilliant red, beautiful plant. And this is one of the favorites of hummingbirds. We also have the scarlet sage in our hummingbird gardens, which is another really popular hummingbird plant. And it comes in kind of a pink or a red variety, and you frequently see hummingbirds visit those. The Mexican wild olive is also another good species for hummingbirds.
So it's simple. I mean, 3 or 4 plants and you can have a hummingbird garden in your backyard. So step number 2 is the flowers with nectar. Step number 3 are the hummingbird feeders. And you have to think of the hummingbird feeders as the frosting on the cake. And the cake is the habitat, your 3 layers of plants. And so the feeders just help them during these peak times when they are migrating and traveling 500 miles, and they have to have 500 snacks a day. So the feeders are important. We create a nectar, it's basically sugar water, and it replicates what hummingbirds find in plants. And in plants, typically it's about 20% sugar. So you got your hand and you got a baby sucking on your thumb, and that's your sweet thumb. So think of it as 4 parts water and 1 part sugar. It's a very easy formula. Make sure you clean your feeder twice a week, and you don't need to add any red dye. The red from the Hummingbird feeders attracts the hummingbird. So that's a step to add the Hummingbird feeders to your habitat. The next step is to avoid insecticides, because insects are a really important part of their diet.
They are. Most people aren't aware of how much hummingbirds rely on insects for their food, especially in the summer when they're raising their young. So if you have insecticides in your yard and you're driving away insects and the spiders that the insects are feeding on, you're actually really hurting the hummingbird's chances to find good quality food. They also will use the hummingbird silk, the spider silk, to make their nest. So they're not only eating the spiders and insects, such as mosquitoes, they're also making the nest from the materials.
So the protein and the fat is an important part of their diet.
Very important. It really helps their young to quickly put on mass.
Okay. And then the last step is don't forget the water. You could do an easy bird bath, but put rocks in your bird bath so they have a shallow area where they can rest and bathe. A mister is fabulous, or if you just have a sprinkler in your yard, that suffices as well. So hummingbirds are beautiful creatures. In Spanish, they say ollas voladoras, flying jewels. And we hope you'll create a hummingbird garden in your backyard. And if you'd like more information, please visit our website at www.quintamazatlan.com. And on behalf of MCN, McAllen Cable Network, I'm Colleen Hook, and this is John Brush. And thank you for watching Nature at Your Doorstep.